and well-being into consideration. The draft law was presented to the town. The town board reviewed it. There was a decision to gather more data about law enforcement experience, other possible legal options available to residents, innovative solutions that don't quickly move toward tickets and fines. We probably still need a discussion about what constitutes, quote, reasonable noise, end quote, and quote, reasonable complaint, end quote. While the board gathers information on possible remediation, resolutions of complaints, I would like to propose the board consider taking some time to understand the problem and possible solutions. I would like the board to consider establishing a temporary, quote, advisory group to collect noise complaints for a year. It would be helpful to have all seasons covered in this effort. Collect the complaints and research possible solutions to the different scenarios, personal contact, letter from the town supervisor, 240-.20 New York Penal Code, etc. I want the board to determine membership of the advisory group. What skills should be helpful? 2 or 3 people. Report to the board. These are questions. 1 board member meet with the group once a month for updates. Question. There are a lot of details that would need to be worked out. After a year, we could have data on types of complaints, who is likely to complain, are there certain areas prone to problems, are there seasonal issues impacting noise complaints, what is the source of the noise, what solutions were tried, what helped and what didn't help. The residents of Danby deserve to have noise complaints taken seriously, and the town board should help find solutions. The board may be able to find another way to address some of the noise concerns. The board may decide that a town law is necessary to address some of the problems for which no solutions can be found. That's Leslie, who wrote that up. Mm-hmm. And I appreciate the idea of having a year and a seasonal, having all the seasons involved, concerned, and to sort out the types of noise, et cetera, that she mentions. And I do not think we should use a law that was presented on a committee that was not really a town board action as it's such. And furthermore, neither Pat nor I were on the board at that time. So.
I like the idea of having gathering information, and this is not a new issue. I've lived here 30 years. It has come up at least twice before in those 30 years, and it has been problematic every time. And I think it's still problematic that we just drop it. I don't want it dropped. I like the idea of having an advisory committee, somebody that will look at all of the gathered data, serious data, and then we'll, in addition, we also need people to look at, we need somebody to talk to the state police. We need somebody to talk to the sheriff. And we need to look at other areas. The committee did a good job. And again, other committees in the last 30 years have done a good job too. It's a very hard issue to deal with. And I don't want to dump on those residents in the town that do have concerns, but we have to seriously look at how to handle it. And I like being able to take a year because there are differences that are seasonal.
My thought on it was that we know the kind of problems that we have, because as you say, Pat, it tends to be episodic. It's not like we have noise complaints every day. So the gathering data over the course of the year is going to give you a very good picture of what the issues are and what the problems are. I can easily point to the big three. The big three have been loud parties, gunfire, ATVs. And
what was the second one you said?
Gunfire.
Oh, gunfire.
Not just not the occasional gunfire, but when you sounds like World War III is breaking out because you have all your friends over for target practice. So I mean, last year was gunfire. This year we've had loud party complaints and ATV complaints. I'm not sure how much we're going to learn in by monitoring for a year, just because they say, because they tend to be episodic, they tend to be, local. Somebody as a teenager who likes to ride their ATVs around the field, all weekend or whatever. And it pops up here and there depending on, who's got the kid with the who enjoys doing it. I don't know that. I just don't know how much we're going to gain by saying, well, we need to take a look at what happens where. I think we know what happens, and the where is a variable depending on, it just changes over time. I don't know that you could, a year will give you an idea to say we have a hot spot here, except to say that, if somebody's got a problem with an ATV, it's have to be there, and it's have to be there for the year, but that doesn't mean it's not going to pop up someplace else. So I'm just not sure how much is going to be gained by creating a group to sort of monitor what kind of complaints we get and where they're coming from.
And it's not just monitoring the complaints of where they come from, it's monitoring extensively what attempts are made to handle those complaints and how well they work. And we do not have extensive data on any of that. And it's more than just the three things you mentioned. I think in terms of chainsaws is another big one. There's lots of other things.
Well, there are other things. I mean, I've never heard anybody complain about chainsaws.
Oh, I have.
All the time.
Oh, yes, I have.
So
Yeah.
you certainly have heard people complain, and that Tony has written, I think it's Tony Serviette, if I'm probably not saying the name right, who wrote he's written repeatedly about it.
Mm-hmm. I do kind of think that we should maybe do like a two-pronged method of, I think it still might be a good idea to request information, but I also don't think we have to wait that long to consider something else either. I would like to see what Warren Cross could come up with, because I was also very intrigued by, he seemed to have a very, I don't know what the word is, level-headed way of looking at the problem, and a very different way of thinking about it because it's his expertise, that I would be interested in kind of pursuing both of those routes, whether or not that means we make a committee of like two, maybe Warren Cross being one of them if he was open to it, and then somebody else who could monitor complaints at the same time. And that could make up a two-person committee, or we just ask people separately. But with the new report, a concern button on the website, it kind of makes it slightly easier. But unless we want to make sure that people hit all of those particular things, we might want to make a separate form for just noise things to have people fill out.
Yeah,
that's a good thought.
That's a good idea.
Because I kind of get both things. I get that there's a lot of different reasons people would complain about noise, but I also think that from all of the conversations we've had, we also have the general gist of what people have been concerned about in the past.
But we don't have some detailed about the concerns.
Yeah.
And we can get the concerns at what time of year, nor how they've been handled and the effect of them. And I would also want to include, and not wait for the end of the year, I would also include that we reach out to the state police and to the sheriff's office.
Right. I mean, I have talked to the retired deputy sheriff, but we need the things in writing. And when I think that Leslie's statement said periodic, periodic updates, et cetera, et cetera. So, we don't have to say that it will last a full year, but I don't think it would be, I think there's nothing wrong with saying we want a long-term view of this and a periodic reports and a two-way conversation with the committee.
Mm-hmm.
And we can also reach out to those who have made complaints in the past to get more details, time of year, impact, time of day, duration of all these things, because that we don't have a very explicit list of those kinds of things, and that would be useful to have. And we don't have to wait for them to come in new. We can reach out to those who've already expressed concerns and gather that data on those as well. We don't have to wait for coming in the future. I suggest we actually reach out to those people. And I think another thing that could be different is in terms of commercial or not. I think there's many cases that commercial uses, noises are treated differently than non-commercial uses. And we should at least be acknowledging that that could be different.
Could be. I mean, with the hemp operation be a case in point.
I'm also thinking that one thing that I've been like wrestling with, like how you would deal with the seasonal changes we've been talking about. It's not just like the activities that change, but like 9 o'clock, like today is a whole lot different than 9 o'clock in December, you know, like even just like what people do. You don't want their, like maybe 9 o'clock now is okay to like hang out in the backyard or whatever, because it's still kind of light out, but people are asleep at like hibernating at 9 o'clock in December. So, but I don't know how would you deal with that with adjusting? I don't know.
That's why we don't know how to deal with many of those things that are not easy and not trivial. And that's why it hasn't been done in the past. And the easy way is to drop it. But I think we can do better than simply dropping it. If we can gather more data and we can talk to those people about when it occurred and whether it occurred time of year, time of day, time of year, time of day, all those things we can gather that data.
I think we need a clear list of, what data we are looking to acquire. You've mentioned a couple of things, Pat, the time of the year, time of the day.
Duration, clearly, those are the three major characteristics.
A lot of these are just in the draft law. And that's why the subjectivity was there, because you have to take into account the distance and the intensity and frequency and time of day. All these contribute to whether or not it's unreasonable or not.
That's sort of where we started getting into trouble. So I think that going back to having a committee of people who, and I kind of like the idea that Pat said that that we might reach out to some of the people and find out not that we're trying to be judge and jury, but what has worked for some people, what hasn't worked for some people, any, thing that, because a blanket rule is prone to controversy, more controversy, and we don't know how much rebellion is involved here. Taking this longer look at it may reduce some of the rebellion that might be part of this. So I think it's more. I think time is a friend in this. So, I think I would kind of like to move that we consider the idea of a committee. I don't have anything further. I don't have a formal motion for it, but I actually think that allows us to say, yes, we're doing something. Because I think that's the frustration with some people and why that may increase the anger on the people who want a law, because we appear to be doing nothing. And the people who don't want a law, afraid of what we might do. Those two things they're hard for us. This is a hard thing for us too, because of the frustration level on quote, both sides. And I bet you anything, there's places in the middle. It right now looks like sides, but I bet you anything, it can look like something in the middle.
I just had a call failed. On my so that's a first. So
is that why your phone got kicked out?
Yeah, it was like whoop, call failed. So I
maybe your internet's better than your cell service. Oh wait, that was probably a landline.
Unstable. Yeah. No, it's not.
No.
obviously not, but it's cable, and cable's, not doing very well here tonight.
Hmm.
Yeah. So I'm back this way. I could try to reconnect the other way. It could take a while, but we'll see how this goes. The later it gets into the evening, usually the better it gets. But
Did you hear everything in the meantime? I don't.
no. Well, I mean, I was hearing Catherine, and then I suddenly wasn't hearing anybody. No.
I'd just like to say Ted emailed me and said that Clarity Connect has been out since yesterday, totally. And that's why he hasn't been at the meeting. And my computer is also down and I don't have Clarity Connect. So
Yeah, I know Leslie had that same issue. She ended up dropping out in the middle of the planning board meeting last night. Got disconnected.
yeah, well, I couldn't get, my computer went down at 7 o'clock last night and Ted's went down at 8. Something is very strange.
Yeah, we're getting technical, some system-wide problems here. Which we fix by meeting in person, of course, but anybody trying to attend by Zoom, which we're committed to doing, would have the same issue though. Anyway,
So I think Catherine was proposing that we have an advisory committee.
yeah, and I think
Of
Leslie
what,
was
2
too.
people, 3 people?
Yeah. By the way, I think Warren indicated to me that he'd be willing to serve in a committee if we wanted to.
He did?
So, yes.
Okay. I would very much like to see him on the board,
Yes.
or I guess it's a board advisory committee.
Maybe.
Right. Who
Perhaps
else?
we can start with suggesting a motion that we, again, I'm not good at this, so I'm just going to say it without that word in there. And somebody else can say say it the other way. That we approach Warren first and ask him if he would be willing to set up an idea of what a committee like that could look like and give that idea back to us. And then we move to do more of a formal quote unquote.
Committee creation. Yeah.
Yeah.
Mhm.
Because he might have some
Oh, that's
ideas, and he's been, I know that we all kind of liked the fact that what he did was said something in words that were diffusing. And
Yeah.
that's why I think we responded so nicely. It was a very diffusing way to suggest it. Yeah, and then
So maybe if,
Then we would postpone, we could ask them to get back and then to postpone this decision until the next meeting.
Mhm.
Well, I mean, I think what we decided to do is to ask Warren about, the
Whether or not
committee
he'd be
structure, and then I
willing
can report that
to
him.
chair a committee, yeah.
and what it would look like.
And suggestions about the structure of the committee as well.
Right.
Yes, yeah.
That's what I would
And I
like.
think that's it. Okay, and I'm okay with that. So if we just have a consensus on that, why don't we just say that's where we're going with it?
Yeah, I would probably like to
I'm-
hear
I don't-
from him for sure that he's okay with that before we
Yeah,
vote.
exactly.
Yes. If we're willing to take a brief break, I'm going to try to reconnect because the audio really isn't very good.
No,
And
let's
take-
not, I would rather we didn't try and do that during this meeting. It's, if people's internet is a problem, could we go on to the next, where are we? Unless
Well,
other.
moderation.
I just want to reconnect.
And just dial in.
Right.
You can keep talking while you're doing that. But next thing on the agenda is level of operation.
Sorry, Joel, I thought you said you wanted to call Warren right now during a
No,
break, and I'm not in favor of you doing
No, I
that.
want to call in. I want to try to, yes.
He's just
Okay,
trying to get back in with his phone audio.
sorry, I thought you were jumping to calling Warren right in the middle of the meeting. I'm like, no.
No, if you give me a moment here, I'll try to do that because I can't, I don't want to interrupt the
Okay,
Sure.
flow of things. And hopefully it won't take too long. And
Can
I'll
I
probably
get a
mute myself.
report on the
Okay.
staff recommendation? And some of the staff do that recommendation now?
I don't understand what you mean. You mean, oh, right there, revisit the, oh, yeah, the staff
The
recommendation.
agenda
Gotcha.
says, report of possible action on staff recommendations, so we need to know what the staff recommendations are. They're not on the list.
They were, I read that. I read the staff recommendation. It was sort of keeping the meetings in the town hall masked, I mean, in the big room, and willy-nilly for everybody else. That's probably not, not the best language, but that's what it looked like. Unless somebody specifically asked
David,
people
do
to
you
have a
have-
mask on.
David, can you describe it?
Yeah, I think the feedback from staff was that we, at least in town hall, everyone is comfortable with the kind of day-to-day operations level of people in town hall, which is a few people at a time, not needing to have masks. A lot of us have more lax in whether or not we need a mask walking around. And there's rarely more than a couple of people. Joel's with-
And Joel, can you turn your volume down?
I got it. It just
Thanks.
took me a while. I'm back. Back with the phone audio.
And David
All
was
right,
going
so
through the list.
included with the agenda was the summary of the staff recommendations.
That's where we are, and David was just talking about it. If we-
Yeah. So David, can you finish?
Sure. So I think where the staff was at was that we are comfortable not requiring people who come in for the kind of day-to-day operations things, you know, to get a permit to meet with one of us, to be without a mask, and for staff to not have masks when we're walking around the hallways. But it did seem like there was still some concern about if we have a lot of people together in a meeting room, and there was interest in still having masks required if, you know, for a town board meeting or a planning board meeting or any larger gathering. But that for the normal day-to-day coming in, as long as nobody asks you to have a mask, I think we're okay with not having masks.
Yeah.
We also felt like it's just kind of common courtesy if, you know, people who are sick should not come into town hall. And if anyone asks someone to put on a mask, you know, if someone's coming to meet in my office and I feel like I'd be more comfortable with them having a mask on, I can ask them to have a mask on. But for the most part,
Yeah, and vice versa.
exactly, that staff would put on a mask anytime somebody wanted them to, but that it wasn't necessary to have a mandate all the time.
So I tried to write this up in that memo, which I think reflects there was one thing that wasn't, I don't remember if we talked about it, which was meetings. We talked about it briefly. I don't remember what the upshot was. Meetings not on town property, like the like the water district meeting at the fire hall. It was mentioned that, you know, the fire district probably has its own policy on meetings in their facilities, and why not just let that govern meetings there? So as opposed to just trying to determine how our town meetings are going to be held elsewhere. Similarly, the highway department and the court sort of acting somewhat independently anyway. And they don't have the kind of meetings that we do, but, you know, the kind of meetings they're apt to have is like the crew getting together for lunch. If they're okay on masks, then I don't see where that necessarily has to be an issue for us. And the court is regulated by the Office of Court Administration anyway, so if we could let them just respond to their guidance and do our own thing for the balance of the situations, that looks like it would cover the ground. So this would reduce it from where we are to
Well, actually,
having, one-on-ones be mostly unmasked unless people really feel like it's necessary.
well, that's
You
actually
want to add
not
something?
true. Yeah, I was looking at the document, and level 1 is that it's fully open with no public health protocols in place. And level 2 is still that it's fully open, but has public health protocols in place, such as masks, social distancing, et cetera. So I think we're still at number 2. We're just
Yeah, we
more,
are. We're just
more
tweaking-
leniently
we're tweaking it
applying
too.
masking.
Exactly. Yeah.
Yeah.
Right.
My
It's
only
still level
issue with
2.
leaving, my only issue with leaving it up to people to ask other people is I can probably guarantee there's a whole lot of people who don't feel comfortable asking someone else to wear a mask, even if they would prefer that person to wear a mask. But I guess that's just life.
Well, one other
But-
option, another option instead of doing that is anybody that is any member of the staff can ask anybody that's coming in if they're comfortable. Then the person coming in doesn't have to ask.
Yeah, I mean, I think what's happening now is that people come in masked, and that is great. And then there's the few people who come in without a mask, and whereas before I would say, hey, do you need a mask? We have one right here. I don't say that, but we do still have masks kind of scattered everywhere for people to take and use should they choose. And then I think, the flip side of that is whether the staff member chooses to mask regardless of who's coming into the office, or only if the person coming in is masked.
Mhm.
And Janice mentioned in our discussion about this that she feels somewhat protected by the fact that we do have this plexiglass divider for the clerk.
Yeah, there's limited airflow.
Right, exactly. So I mean, basically what we're coming back with is that people are already deviating from the policy, and with this sort of policy creep, if you want. That the recommendation would basically give the okay to do what's been happening anyway. And if the board felt really strongly about it, and we could say, well, don't do that. You really ought to be more more careful than you are being. But, David?
Yeah, I wanted to add that, I think I am fine with the board saying at any time now or in the future, we do want you to keep doing this, and I would. Personally, I'd like to see some consideration of the level of hospitalizations. If we went back up into double-digit hospitalizations, I think that'd be something to reconsider. We've been sitting between 0 and 1 hospitalizations, so I feel like we're at a level where it's reasonably safe to be pursuing that way, and I have no problem if things change with us going back. So I don't want people to feel this is a one-way street. Once we change that way forever, we can always say, the threat has increased. We need to reapply some of the precautions we had.
That certainly was the intent.
I'm also wondering if there should be something in between level 1 and level 2.
This is kind of in between. It's the loosening a bit of the full, safety precautions that are implied with level 2, but still keeping some of them in place for larger gatherings, basically.
Mm-hmm.
I have a question.
Yeah.
On the website, on Danby's website, I think it's your mission statement that says the town board is going to follow state and county guidelines for mask wearing. And there's no more mask wearing except on public transportation and doctor's offices. So why aren't we following state and county guidelines?
I believe we said we were gonna follow their recommendations and they still recommend people to wear masks indoors in public places.
That's right. That's
Well,
right. Yep.
nobody does.
Well, it may
That's
not.
not true, but okay.
Yes, it is true.
No, it's not true. I wear a mask all the time. I go to the store.
Yeah.
A lot of other people do. A lot of people that have masks.
Yeah,
Well, I'd like to just reiterate that the Office of Court Administration has told us no more masks, no more social distancing. We don't even have to ask anyone if they've been vaccinated or not.
But you do still have to follow our policies because it's the town. That's their recommendation.
It's not a recommendation. They're telling us, they're mandating us. They're telling us this is.
They're not mandating that people
The
don't
court
wear
administration
masks.
is.
I'm sorry, what, Gary?
I say the court administration has told us.
They've set a minimum bar. There's nothing that says that the municipalities in charge of their towns cannot set more strict protocols.
Okay.
Okay. We're not asking anybody to wear them when they come to court.
I think it's useful to have an automatic increase in the masking based on the hospitalization rate in Tompkins County. I don't know what percentage that would be. So that, if we wanted to do that, I think we have to wait until next week to get some better idea specifics.
Well, I mean, you have to set a threshold if you want to do that, but I don't know that we need a bar that would suddenly trigger a return to, you know, a stricter policy. But I think we're meeting often enough, basically every 2 weeks, that we can adjust the level of operation. We said we're going to revisit the level of operation each meeting anyway. If we continue to do that, we can just say, well, you know, this is, you know, cases are picking up. You know, we're starting to get more hospitalizations. We should raise the bar. But
I think that is a little maybe unfair to the people that work in the town hall. David.
what they would have to revise.
I was just going to add, I think when you set the policy, you gave the supervisor the ability to increase the level without convening the board. So
Okay.
if something changes, you know,
I can read I have the document right in front of me. Do you want me to read it?
Yeah.
Yeah,
Which document, the recommendation or the policy?
the public health operating plan.
Okay.
Levels of
Yeah, the
operation
level
for town hall. Using the levels outlined below as basic guidance, the town supervisor of the town of Danby will use information provided by state and local public health officials to determine when to have town hall fully open with no restrictions, through levels below to town hall being closed to the public and employees as well. The town supervisor will have sole authority to set the level of operation until reviewed by the town board at its next regular or special meeting, and it will remain in effect unless modified to another level up or down by vote of the town board.
Okay.
Could you screen share the proposal?
Yeah, it's on the website in our documents. Let me pull that up.
It's not a proposal. It's what we already approved.
No, I'm talking about the
This one?
not the operating plan. No, I'm talking about what I asked, what I put on, what was it?
Oh, that
Yesterday or
document that I linked to the agenda?
Right, which is the
Fun.
proposed modification.
Thank you, Sarah.
Yep. But where would this be written? I don't, or what do you mean?
Just a modification.
Just a gist of. Because I would still feel uncomfortable saying it's up to you for public meetings, because then you're actively making people feel uncomfortable.
We're not, I'm not saying anything here and shared.
What?
It says Sarah Schnabel has started screen sharing.
Yeah, don't you see this?
Your
No.
connection is bad, Joel.
Oh, I was like, can't you guys see this?
Yeah, I see it.
Here,
Okay.
You can see it, but anybody, can everybody else see it too?
I can see it.
Yep.
Yes.
Well, I can't see it.
You wrote it. You should know what it says.
Yeah, I know.
Right.
It does. Anyway, it doesn't propose anything other than masks for meetings at the town hall anyway.
I see. Okay. This
So it
part.
proposes.
Yeah, you're
it
saying right there
proposes
that the
church-
court is free to do their own thing as recommended.
I did not write that.
Well,
No, I did.
you're part of the town board. I'm just saying, it's right.
And
there.
this is proposed by Joel. We can disagree with it if we want to.
Yes, correct.
That's what I'm proposing, Teresa. That the court be basically free to respond to the guidance from the office of the, what they call it, court administration, and that the highway superintendent be also authorized to use discretion regarding their in-house gatherings, because things like, lunch with the guys, be at his discretion. And that we, for meetings that are not in the town hall, that we go with the policy of the hosting place, which in the case of the
West End.
Water District Committee is the West Danby Fire Hall, and consequently Water District policy. Not Water District, Fire District policy.
I have one problem with this that just occurred to me, and where it says that a sign on the town hall entry should ask anyone not feeling well to not enter. Now, we all know that some people who have been exposed, and I think that maybe it should be modified to say anybody who knows that they have been exposed to a positive case, because some people never feel anything. And but being knowingly exposed to somebody and coming in and saying, well, I feel fine, are two different.
Yeah. We have a sign out there now. It's been a while since I've been there. What does it say?
Wear a mask.
Yeah, I can grab it. It's the county sign.
Is it the one that says like, ask these 3 questions?
No, it's
No.
just the one that says
It's mask required, right?
mask. Please wear a mask upon entering.
So we wanted to change it to a sign that basically said, mask recommended but not required. And if you're feeling sick, don't come in.
Mask advisory sign. Yeah, they've got welcome, mask preferred. Please wear a mask. Everyone, please wear a mask. Masks required. Those are the different options. We currently have one that says welcome. Everyone who enters, please wear a mask.
But we're not
My-
enforcing it.
My issue is anytime that a member of the public has to go to something, or something that it should be totally open to the public, which is like meetings and I guess court appearances. Those are the 2 things, because anything else with the town clerk or planner could be done over the phone and isn't necessarily required of anyone.
Well, nobody has to go to a board meeting except the board members, but
No, but it's supposed to be government. It's a government meeting, so it should be as easily viewed as possible. Where doing it via Zoom is great. But then I don't know how well our second round of trying to do hybrid meetings is gonna go, so.
no, that's right. I'm concerned about that too, mostly because of the acoustics.
Mhm.
But we're going to have to go there sooner or later. Which
I
is
don't
why
know, they might just
Warren-
keep extending it. I don't-
Well, I mean, as you have so far, and if things get worse, as it looks like they might, we might get further extensions. But in
And
the
is there anything
meantime,
with the highway department people and the union? Do they have anything to say about that?
not
They
to my
haven't,
knowledge.
I don't think that they've really weighed in on that. We're,
I was just curious.
Or it just hasn't come, it just hasn't come up to really discuss it with them.
Mhm.
I mean, I suppose if we were strictly enforcing the policy, where they should be wearing masks. I mean, how are you going to have masks at lunch? You know, we were basically at the height of it. We were not doing lunch together. People were, you know, basically. You couldn't have a conference of the guys before they go out to the day's tasks and talk about who's going to do what. You know, we reduced it to basically one-on-one, and you know, people can't travel together and, you know, all the rest of it. But that's loosened up considerably, policy notwithstanding. And this is just an effort to sort of recognize the reality of the thing.
I got the general feeling when everything started and talking with the union about things that they were pretty much getting across that it's up to the policy of each municipality. That they would go along with whatever the municipality's policies were.
So I'm
Sorry
proposing
sorry to bring up another problem, but the definition of meeting is not clear. Because if you make an appointment with the town planner, it's generally called, I have a meeting with somebody, and that's one-on-one. And it doesn't say
Yeah.
anything here, it says meetings, that's not well defined.
True. I'm not sure that we need. I think as long as we understand what it means, it suffices for policy purposes.
It is
Oh,
an
no,
internal.
no, 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 no.
Well, if you want to. I mean, if we want to add that, you know, meetings of, you know, what do you want? 3 or more people?
Official board meetings or something like that. I don't know.
That would probably be better. Any official meetings where it's a large scale and open to the public is clearly what is the major issue here.
Mhm.
Well, that's not the sense I'm getting, because I'm most of the objections I've been hearing have been about the one-on-ones. Whether we want to drop the mask mandate, which is what this is basically about.
I don't know what you mean.
I don't know what you're saying.
Well, what I'm saying is, right now, as it stands, we're at level 2. Masks are required, period, by everybody.
Yes.
Supposed to be wearing them, you know, except when people are in their own offices. Even if they're out in the hall and are going to be, you know, if Steve goes to talk to David, or David goes to talk to Janice, if you're going to be in the same place, you should be masked. That's not happening.
What does that have to do with requiring masks at official board meetings?
Nothing.
It has not. I mean, it doesn't have anything to do with it. The masks are
Except the
required in
fact that
every-
we want this to say something different.
I think the confusion is
what I'm saying is that what we're asking do is to not to alter what applies to board meetings and similar things, but basically to alter what applies to the one-on-one.
So why is it?
But that's not what this plan says. It says masks still required for meetings and similar gatherings. You're just saying that statement is false.
No, so I think there's 2 things happening here, right? So there's the day-to-day operations, which is what he was referring to in the first sentence, for regular business at the town hall, blah, 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 blah. And then for publicly open board meetings, whether it's town board, planning board, whoever else meets here, CAC, then that is mask required. However, I want to point out that level 2 doesn't specify that masks are required. It says that public health protocols be in place, such as masks, social distancing, etc. So I think we can keep it at level 2, but be more specific in what we're asking the public to do when they come into town hall.
But this should still say required for publicly or open meetings board meetings that are open to the public.
Yeah,
and similar gatherings.
Yeah, board and town committee meetings that are open to the public, yes. Yeah, which is exactly what Janice said, but the words need to say that too.
Does it matter whether it's a board meeting or whether it's the Cub Scouts or a crowd at the library?
It matters whether it is a meeting with David and one person coming in, because this says masks would be required for that meeting. And that's not what the intent is. That's just what Janice said. That's not the intent. We just make sure the words match the intent.
So Joel, you're asking like if the Girl Scouts are still using the meeting room, whether they should be masked or not.
Right? It doesn't
But I
matter.
think
mean,
being in a
the
meeting,
risk-
in a group like that is totally different than someone making the choice to go to a public meeting. They made the choice to join that organization. It's different now because we're being a little more loose about how town hall is being used. Before it was like, no, everyone mask. But at this point, I think it's important to still have masking requirements when you're trying to have as few barriers as possible for people to feel safe, which is at meetings that are open to the public and times when members of the public have to go to town hall for certain issues.
So what you're saying, Sarah, is that it's only for the people who have to be there that it's an issue. I mean, and it's not. So it's not. I mean, I'm seeing a problem in it. It's the risk is there whenever you have a congregate gathering.
Mhm.
I mean, whether it wherever 4 or 5 people are together, if they're unmasked, I think there's a risk associated with that. And we're saying, well, the risk is okay because they choose to be there as opposed to having to be there. So it's up to them to decide whether or not they want to be there and whether or not they want to wear a mask. That's okay.
That's where I'm coming from anyway. We can't dictate
but-
everything for everyone if we're going to be lax about it with staff as well.
Right. They're saying that, but for a planning board meeting or for a town board meeting where, basically we have to be there, then it's appropriate for us to,
Be as safe as possible to protect anyone who wants to be there who would feel otherwise unsafe.
Yeah, we don't want the policy to keep somebody away because they're afraid that they would catch something. And the major benefit of masks is not necessarily for the person wearing the mask. The major benefit from the mask is that everyone else is protecting from your shit.
Yep.
yeah, I understand.
Or not.
So what is that? So how do we articulate that? We're saying that
well,
masks are required for-
I'm pretty much
Or,
saying for this third, or can you still not see it, Joel? That might be the problem.
Yeah, I can see it now.
Oh,
I can
okay,
see it.
okay. Right here, I would say that it would be required for meetings that are open to the public, maybe end of story on that line, and then get rid of this line. And because I would say advisory committees, because they're not subject to open meetings law.
Well, those advisory committees will probably choose not to meet in person anyway.
Other than the water district, but it's an advisory committee, so.
Yeah, it is an advisory committee.
I don't
But I mean,
think it's required to follow open meetings law. I can't
Right.
remember. I know
Okay.
the specifics about that better.
Can
That's
I
right.
Can I just throw this out? So are we creating a resolution on this?
Yes.
Okay,
So that's what
so-
we're trying to do.
so
I mean, I would have just
Here's
moved
my
if we approved the staff recommendation, but
well, here's my
So we'll-
suggestion. If that the resolution be to retain the town hall level of operation at level 2, but loosen the mask restrictions to preferred but optional during day-to-day business and required at all publicly open board meetings.
Sounds good.
Maybe publicly open proceedings, because a court isn't a board meeting. But you can just walk into court.
well, I mean,
meetings, right?
I don't know that I want to set up a confrontation with the court. If they're willing to, if they don't want to mask, then what are we going to do? Call the sheriff and tell them that they're violating?
Well, I
the
don't think
policy?
it's right that we allow people to feel unsafe if they're required to go somewhere. That's where I make the difference. If you're making the choice to go out to an event, that's your choice. It's different.
You're being hauled into court. You don't have any choice in that. You could. I mean, they can always choose to wear a mask if they want to, but
But again, like Pat just said, that protects the other people more than it protects them.
Yeah, true. So you would like to delete that. I mean, I'm okay with what Janice just voiced.
I think I have been pretty quiet because I hear all of the issues that everybody's saying, and I think that one of the problems we will never ever solve, and that's the shyness of a person to ask for something. And it would be, we can't make them ask. We can't sort of ridicule them by saying, well, the court says, the court administrator says you don't have to. So that feels kind of like, I'm sorry, but it feels a little like ridicule. And on the other hand, I know that when we've been in there doing the newsletters, we've all just kept them on, except for when we're taking a sip of something. And, you know, I always wear a mask whenever I go to a store, although the other day I went into a store and I saw somebody I knew and I pulled my mask down so the person would know who I am. And then I left it down for a little while. And then I thought, you know, even if what I'm basically saying is each of us has an issue personally in this, we all have a stake in it. We're trying not to be overly cautious or overly permissive. And there's no way to encourage people to be brave enough to speak up. So I think that we should err on the side of not putting them in that position.
We
So-
could ask them. I think what David suggested, rather than having them ask us, we could ask them whether they're okay with us not wearing masks. Would you like me to wear a mask?
Yeah, and you know what I'd say? Yeah, I guess so.
Yeah.
I mean, seriously, it's the same thing. I mean, it's the same. It's still this. Now I'm going to feel like a bully if I say, yeah, put your mask on. I mean, it's always, that's one of the things. And again, I don't have a really strong feeling, but I do know that put into a position of being asked is just as much saying, you know, you're being a wimp if you won't come in without your mask. I mean, they're not saying it, but there's this under.
Yep. I understand what you're saying. I remember some situation when smoking was first
Right.
being dealt with in public places, and when in classrooms where it was, you know, the professors were okay to smoke if the class agreed. And so they would ask the class, does anyone object to my smoking?
Right.
And
It's exactly.
Yeah, are you
that.
going to be the one person who says something about it?
Yeah.
I was, but it was like, you know, you're really going to make me not smoke? So
Yeah, you get put in this position of.
Yeah.
Exactly. So I understand that.
Yeah, I agree too. And I will just say that I think, well, I'll say two things. It's 7:56, number one.
Yeah.
But number two,
Mhm.
that I think that because you know, we're not a grocery store here, so we don't actually have a lot of foot traffic. So on the day-to-day, it's not high risk. With that, if we move to in-person publicly open meetings, then we're going to be entering high risk, which is why I think that masks should still be required when you have larger gatherings of people who will be shouting not, and, you know, spewing virus all over the place. So in that way, I think, you know, to address your concern, Catherine, I think that on the day-to-day when people are just trickling in and out, if that, where we have at most two people at the same time who are outsiders and not, you know, staff or whatever, then it's a lot easier to be more lax about it. And if somebody comes in with a mask, then we put a mask on.
Yeah.
God respect.
Yeah, you can take cues from other people.
Right.
Yeah.
So,
Right.
and if the sign says mask preferred, then I think that's also another cue that that's okay to wear a mask, and people who might be not comfortable speaking their mind like Joel is, then they would be more likely to be at ease with wearing their mask with that kind of sign.
Right. I like that.
I think we should take the wording that Janice had modified and use that. But
Okay,
Sarah,
good.
I
Already
feel that.
Is that a motion?
What?
I have a motion, but I can't move it.
I'll move it.
Oh, no, but I mean, what Pat just said sounded like a motion to me. That's why I
Okay.
have
I
that
moved
motion.
it.
So we got a motion from
Sarah,
Pat.
are you comfortable with that?
What was the wording, if you could repeat it?
Okay, to retain the town hall level of operation at level 2, but loosen the mask restrictions to preferred but optional during day-to-day business and required at all publicly open board meetings.
I still have the issue of board meetings, but
Yeah.
Yeah.
Noted.
The rationale being that board meetings, you are, if you're a board member, you have to be there. Whereas the other ones are optional. It's the Girl Scouts, they can.
except for
have
court
to be there.
again, because that's not a board
Oh, yeah.
meeting, so that wouldn't be encompassed under that.
No.
Right.
I think it might be useful to say instead of just boards, because like the Conservation Advisory Committee is a committee. I would say not boards, but official town committees and boards.
I would say official town proceedings. Would that cover all of them?
Yeah, we also covered somebody coming in to get a marriage license.
Oh, that's true.
Yeah, I think the boards and committees, official town boards and committees is more explicit.
Okay.
I would have suggested something simple like, for any gatherings of 3 or more people, but regardless.
We could do that too.
I would not want to do that because you could have some people coming in with a couple coming in with a child, and that's not something you want to.
I did just have 3 people come for notary.
Oh, yeah.
Well,
Notary especially, yeah. No, I would not. I would keep it to official public hearings or public official town boards and committees that are open to the public.
Okay. Got it. So we have a motion, but I didn't hear a second.
I seconded it.
Joel, I missed it. You're so quiet.
The first time anybody accused me of being that.
All right.
So did we delete anything else or is that a substitute motion, or does it take the place of everything else that's there?
The only thing with that wording is that would still require the water district to meet, to be masked or Zoom.
Oh, we could say at town hall.
At town hall, yes, Sarah, I meant that actually.
Then that takes care of water district.
Yep.
Highway,
And highway. sort of
although they wouldn't be
not
boards and
that-
committees, so never mind.
Right, exactly, right. And neither is the court. Okay. We understand. Are we ready to vote? Right, long last. Like, okay, Janice.
All right. Hunter,
Yes.
Schnabel,
No.
Woodworth,
Yes,
Kenyon.
Yes.
And that
All
puts us. Correspondence and privilege of the floor. We'll table that for next time, if that's
Right,
okay. with
I
everyone.
moved
I
it.
have nothing.
Yeah,
Oh, did you? Yeah, you moved it early on.
I
Okay.
did, yeah.
Then
it
amended
requires a motion to
proposal.
table, isn't it?
Not if we deleted it at the beginning.
But we didn't. I mean, like, I left it on just so we could table it, so make sure it comes back up.
Okay, well, I'll move to table.
Second that.
I don't think we ever voted.
And
I don't think it needs a vote, but it needed a second.
Okay. So I was gonna say, I know it's not debatable, but I was not sure it didn't need a vote. but- Okay, let's table it. Okay. The Hammett Neighborhood Zone Extension. In light of the comments that were made last time about the concern about the impacts potentially visual and otherwise on Jennings Pond, I asked David to modify the proposal to exclude the quote unquote corner. And he's done that. That's a significant modification. Consequently, we have to, if first of all, we know whether the board's okay with that. And secondly, if we do that, we need to schedule another public hearing on it because it's a significant change.
I'm fine with that. I'll move that we schedule a public hearing for the August 17th meeting at 6 o'clock.
Second.
And it needs to be that time, doesn't it, David, in order to be notice time.
Yeah, that's why I didn't do the first one.
Okay, so it's been moved and seconded. Any discussion? I think everybody's okay with the proposal. Okay. All right, Janice.
Hunter,
Yes.
Schnabel,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon. Did Gagnon say yes?
Yes, I did. Because I really am soft spoken. I move that we go into executive session to discuss a legal challenge to the Norbert Solar approval.
Second.
Janice.
Hunter,
Yes.
Schnabel,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon.
Yes. Why do we do this?
Okay, so this now I have to do the breakout rooms. All right.
A breakout room?
Yes. Create one breakout room. Assign manually.
And for everybody's benefit, I'm saying that there will be no other action today except maybe to, in response to what we discussed in executive session, if people want to hang around.
Okay. So Joel, Catherine, Joel.
You just put people in there?
Yes.
Okay. And besides the board, I want David there and you.
Yep. Where did David go? David. Okay. So a bunch of people have dropped off. Lord, did you need Laura?
I don't think so, not for this.
Okay. And Steve.
Good night, everybody.
Good night. Okay. So I've got Joel, David, Catherine, Joel again, Pat, and Sarah.
And you, I'm assuming?
And me. I'm not able to select me, but I will join as soon as I can.
And David, right? Did you mention David?
I did mention David.
Said David.
Okay. Okay, I'm gonna open.
Yep.
And you all can join. And I will join.
Will you take the transcription with you?
It's a good question. I don't know. Probably not.
You-
And where do I always forget how I do this? Dang it. Okay. Be there in a second. Breakout rooms. Oh, I think I just have to join. Okay.
So Rhonda, which one of the two is you?
The blue one, because that's my phone. Let's see if I can get it to work here. There.
Yeah, so you were asking about the internet. You know, these things happen. They go down once or twice a year. This is the longest time the clarity's been down in my memory.
Well,
I I'm not happy.
Something,
I'm not happy, but what can I say? You know, there it is.
I
It's-
think it's something with my computer.
Well, in your case, it's local. In my case, it was global. And for what it's worth, Verizon just gave me $6 refund because because their service was cut for about 4 or 5 days a month ago. So, you know, it's not clarity, really.
Well, I'd like to fix my computer.
What's it doing to you? Tell me a little.
Nothing. You know, at 7 o'clock, last night I was trying to get on to the planning board meeting, and it just went all quirky, and then I couldn't get it back up. And so I have been trying ever since then to get it to work, and I mostly get a black screen. Right now I have the little blue Microsoft window icon, and then the little dots are going around and around. And at one point I got a message saying, first it was saying that it was diagnosing things. That took about an hour. Then it said that it was repairing damage, either error to my disk or damage to the disk, and it might take an hour. And so 6 hours later, it still hadn't done anything. You're laughing. Why?
I'm laughing because, Microsoft is not the only culprit in this sort of thing, but it sounds so Microsofty.
Yes, well, this is the second time this has happened. The first time I actually figured out how to fix it. And so this time I have not been able to correct it.
Not just yet. You will. You'll figure it out.
Thank you. Well, thanks for your confidence, but you know, I don't have all year. I have to get this thing working.
Well, I'll make one suggestion, which is it is not helpful, but I'll make it anyway. I have some extra Macs. We could arrange something.
Well,
to borrow a phrase from various bigoted people, we could bring you over from the dark side.
Well, I have had PCs all my life, and I have this big desktop PC. And so everything is sort of, you know, and I run my business, and I run my ilovethefingerlakes.com.
Right. What I'm sort of suggesting is there's a subset of things which, you know, Zoom, web browsing to some extent, you know, that sort of stuff. Just have a machine dedicated to it, which doesn't screw up.
Supposed to be, and here I am.
Yeah.
I mean, there's nothing on the hard drive. That's why I don't understand why the hard drive is having trouble. So I'm thinking of downloading Windows.
Oh, yeah. Yeah. You mean like reloading the software from scratch?
Yeah.
Sorry to, yeah, that's something very painful, and I'm sorry to hear that you're considering it. But yeah, that happens, and you know, it happens for. I've seen it happen for Mac too. So you know, it happens to everyone. It happens
to a lot of people, and I don't understand why we don't all en masse, you know, go to Microsoft's office near Seattle and do something about it. Because if you look at the number of YouTube videos on YouTube about how to do this, and all the complaints all over cyberspace about they're losing their Windows and everything, this is something that happens all the time. Why?
Yeah, it's a basic flaw with Microsoft software. They've even though they've rewritten it several times, they have a quality control problem that some others don't have. I mean, here's another thought for you. I think they do it for Mac. They may also do it for a PC. Google will now give you a kit to install its Chrome operating system on your PC or Mac, or a spare one that's just kicking around. And there is a very, very reliable. Granted, they have a lot of updates, but it's very reliable. I'm actually thinking, just for fun, to take one of my spare Macs and turn it into a Chromebook. Yeah, it'll be a very fast Chromebook, I'll put it that way.
So are we being transcribed by Otter here?
They might well be. So I wouldn't say anything controversial.
Who's Captain Charles?
Charlie Tilton, Pat's husband.
Oh. Anyway, so this is the first time I've used my phone to attend a meeting.
It works, but is your data plan on your phone going to get upset at you? Is it going to present you with a huge bill, or are you unlimited?
I don't think it will present me with anything.
I hope.
I hope too,
Yeah.
I hadn't even thought of that.
For what it's worth, I mean, your phone may work differently, but let me open a window here for myself and firewall and what I'm looking for here is how much bandwidth I'm using. So I'm assuming that yours is somewhat similar. It is running about a megabit per second.
Is it?
That's not huge. It's really not huge, but you get enough seconds, and it will. You get enough seconds in there, and it will add up. So, like an hour would be 3,600 megabits. Divide that by 8 would be about 800 megabytes of transmission. That's a lot.
I don't know.
And actually, that's in the what I would call the receive rate coming to me. It's about half that what I'm sending up to the internet. And to be fair, I mean, I think that the current New York State or federal standard for broadband is 50 or more megabits per second, way much more than this. And they're now proposing to go up to 100 or more. So rural Clarity is not doing broadband anymore, but what they're doing is good enough most of the time.
So my computer, my little laptop hasn't done anything while we were talking. It's just stuck.
With Microsoft trying to fix it.
I don't know what it's doing. It's the little circle going around and around.
Yeah, I have no advice. I wish I knew more about PCs.
I can't even see the arrow for the mouse. So it's just nothing I can do.
If it isn't, so don't take this too literally. It isn't a Mac, but if it were, what I would probably do is reboot it, power it down, and start it up again.
I've done that probably a dozen times.
Oh, that hurts. Okay.
It's not doing anything.
By the way, just out of curiosity, just as an experiment, can you turn your phone sideways? Right now, you're a vertical bar in the midst. When you turn it sideways, you more or less fill the panel. And you look like you're on a regular PC.
Yeah. Thank you. That was a good thing. It's just propped up against my non-working laptop.
And you can probably change the angle by shifting the laptop screen.
Yeah, well, that's what I just did.
Yeah. All right.
Boy, it does look pretty official.
Well, I don't know what's going to happen with those guys.
Which guys?
The ones who are out in the executive session. If they come back, as Joel said, they're either going to do nothing when they come back, or basically pass a resolution without saying, without discussing it. That's legal. That's the way it works.
Well, I just want to know who the attorney's going to be, or if there is going to be an attorney. I think I have a right to know that.
You'll find out. You'll find out. And does it really matter? I mean, other than maybe somebody you like or don't like, does it really matter? Hopefully they will do the same job no matter who it is. I don't want to say that all attorneys are born equal, but bottom line is they all do the same job.
Well, it does matter if they decide not to get an attorney.
Oh, I don't know. And this is all about the fact that you felt that they didn't follow proper procedure on the seeker.
It's because they lied on the seeker.
Oh, well,
With proper procedure, they just lied.
yeah.
When you don't know what's on 30 acres, hi David, when you don't know what's on 30 acres and you want to cut it down and clear cut it.
Yeah. Well, they're coming back. We're going to see. Let's leave it to the town board.
So that worked. Except for Kathy's not back.
Yeah, it was like somebody didn't make it back. Oh, there she is.
Okay.
You're muted. It muted you on entering, I think.
Can't hear me?
No, I'm talking to Catherine.
Yeah,
Oh,
we're all
Kathy.
muted as we come back. Except for you, Joel.
I think you'd be able to hear me. Okay, so
Yeah.
There.
I move that we use Guy as our attorney to defend ourselves in this suit.
A second.
Where did everybody go? Everybody's video's turned off.
No,
Maybe that's just
we're all here.
unstable. Maybe it's just an unstable internet thing here. Yeah. Okay, is there any discussion? Not hearing any, so Janice, the vote.
Hunter,
Yes.
Schnabel,
Yes.
Woodworth,
Yes.
Gagnon.
Yes. Okay, next up is what are we on the next agenda?
I have revisit policy on correspondence and privilege to the floor and current level of operation.
Right.
Anything else?
And then we got, well, no, the public hearings won't be at the next meeting, it'll be the following one.
Right.
Budget transfer for the youth program.
Okay.
Yeah, that was, Laura was gonna look at it, so, yeah.
Yeah, just that way it'll.
But you can look at it. You could probably get it together to do it at the next meeting.
Yeah,
Mhm.
yep.
I'm sure there will be other things.
I'm sure there will. But, and as they'll fill in as they do, but, we may have something to deal with CCA
Oh, yeah, hopefully.
during the choice aggregation.
Yeah.
If we're going to get on the ground floor, which I think would be kind of nice to do.
Mhm.
Did folks get a chance to participate in the session that Rod scheduled for? That I shared the link, the
The
information
CCA?
about? Yeah,
No, I didn't have time. I wanted to though, but
yeah.
I did
That
hear
was good.
that they were just waiting to hear back from the Public Service Commission, I think. At least that's what the
Well,
city said.
Yeah, as far as getting their initial authorization.
Yeah.
But explaining what all is involved besides just, aggregating demand for electricity. For one thing, it's expanded to include more than electricity. It's now including gas as well. Why do we
Really?
want to do that? Well, because we want to weigh in on the, extensions of gas lines and stuff like that. And because when you're doing the CCA 3.0, one of the things that involves the funding and having the people things can do, and then having the savings be what is paid for on your utility bill. So if you can include gas, you've got that other component of the utility bill to help, to put it on, so to speak. I think that was part of the rationale for expanding it to include gas besides just electricity. So it's complicated. That's why it would have been good to hear Paul Fenn talk about how it really works with all these other components in it. And it dovetails into what the city was already doing with the Green New Deal.
Mhm. Yeah, they just launched their Electrify Ithaca program. It's exciting.
Yeah, it is. And you could sort of do that in a county-wide level. It's even more exciting.
Yeah, that's a little harder though, because the county doesn't have land use
No,
control.
it's all, we all have to opt in.
Mhm.
And so that's why the county's not playing a lead role on this.
Mhm.
The TCOG is sort of got this grant, and it's the grant that's been making it possible to get up and running, with the city and the town of Ithaca playing the lead in getting it going. And the thought initially was that they get it going, and then after a year or so, the rest of us can opt in. But what's exciting is that they figured out a way to make it possible for us to get in right from the beginning and do it along with them. So,
So maybe
stay
that'll
tuned
be on the
more.
agenda for next time.
It might be, yeah. Okay. Well, with that, we started meetings early, but we end up, I guess we don't run till 10, right?
This 8:30 is much better.
Yeah. Okay.
That's right.
Meeting adjourned. Thank you all.
All right, thank you. I'm gonna end it all.
End it all.
Okay,
Just the meeting.
go ahead.
Just the meeting. Okay, bye.
Janice, before you
Yes,
end,
Steve.
Janice,
Yes, Ted.
when will it be possible to get the audio?
As soon as I can get it up on the website.
Okay, so I should just look there under the meeting materials.
Yeah. What's today, Wednesday? It should be there by the end of the week.
Thank you.
No disruptions.
Yeah.
Barring any distractions.
Yep. Thank you. Or barring
Alright.
your internet goes down, right?
That too, yeah. All right, thanks.
This has been the most marginal internet I've ever had.
Yeah.
Even
Maybe
without-
you should
even
talk.
without-
Maybe we should talk about getting you a Mac that works.
It's not the machine's fault there. It's the unstable internet connection is the message that kept popping up on my screen.
But you do have a problem with your sound. That's why you're using 2 channels.
Well,
Okay,
I
I'm
did that
still gonna
because
end the
sound was
meeting though,
bad on the
so
one-
I gotta go walk home.
Okay.
Bye.